Story of a Superhero. The Superhero Who Stopped the Zombie Plague. Kids' Adventure Stories. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. Kareem is different. He is special. He has the ability to do things that others can't. Because of his gift, he wants to contribute. He has a mission. His sole purpose seems to protect others. But his character is tested when something appears that surpasses all the trials he has ever faced. The complicated unfolding of events has placed Kareem in a terrible position. He is surprised by his adversaries, something that rarely happens, but this time he has to solve the puzzle which contains a series of interconnected themes in the past, present, and future. Listen to the story of a superhero who overcomes severe obstacles and comes off conqueror, showing himself and the world what he is made of. Chapter 1. Seeing the Future. He grew up in a friendly environment, with people from all different backgrounds, races, upbringings, religions, skin color, or financial situations. The Phyla city was a decent place, with a relatively small population. It was peaceful there, and nothing shocking or problematic ever happened, except for on extremely rare occasions. But things have changed. A lot. The inhabitants have changed. Everything is different now. Everything is worse than it used to be. In fact, a lot of things are going terribly wrong. Skyscrapers decorate the skies like gigantic interrupters of peace, portraying hundreds of lights at night and a chaotic crowd during the day. Sirens are heard regularly, and the state of the city is neglected by the local police, who are in desperate need of a valiant vigilante to come to the rescue when they cannot. Kareem is black. His parents were immigrants, as were many others in the previous generation. He is 22 years old and in the prime of his life. He loves being young and energetic, with the freedom to go wherever you want, whenever you want. His newfound gift has been incredibly beneficial to himself and those around him. Recently, he concluded what he sensed all along. He can foretell the future. Not like a fortune teller or some kind of soothsayer, astrology has never interested him in the least. No, Kareem has the ability to feel what is happening before it does. It usually doesn't include everything, and the future always changes. But a certain intuitive hunch has always helped him understand the connection between what happens in the present and what the consequences in the near future are, more than others who have similar insights. In this way, he can somehow predict some of the most imminent events and the actions of others as a result of their intentions and previous experiences. Kareem noticed he was different when he won games and sports, and when people started asking him things like, "How did you know that?" and "Did you just read my mind or something?" Things that happened were seen before they took place, and the strong hunch he got every time some danger or threat came his way was more than mere coincidence, or so he figured. Now he is armed with a strong self-confidence and a knowledge of his special skills. After pondering what he would do with these extraordinary feelings, he decided that he would use it to help out others. Anyone with more possibilities should go beyond the regular and use those options for the good of other people, he reasoned. Examples abound. He is determined to save some individual here and there, just to make the city a safer place. In order to protect his identity, he wears a mask and a superhero outfit. He doesn't want his rescue efforts and his heroic endeavors stand in the way of his everyday life as a simple citizen. Last week, for instance, a block caught fire. The cause of it, they found out later, was a housewife who mistakenly let her dinner burn while spending hours on the phone and forgetting the frying pan on the stove. The fire spread to various other homes next to her. Fire trucks arrived within a small time period, and panicking individuals ran from the houses. "Is there anyone else in there, madam?" one of the firemen asked another civilian. "I don't know. I just came out because of the smoke," the woman said anxiously. "I thought I was going to die. I'm so glad I am safe, but how terrible." The fireman approached another woman. "Is anybody in those buildings?" he asked.
"Oh, thank goodness you're here. Please rescue my daughter," she cried. "I was trying to get her, but a burning beam fell between us. I told her I would get help as quickly as I could. Please hurry."
"Understood. We'll do what we can, madam," the fireman said. "Hey, you and you. Follow me into that building. Bring the fire extinguishers. Quickly. There's a girl in there. We need to take her out promptly." "Yes, sir." The 4 firemen grabbed their equipment and ran towards the building. Inside, it was a mess. Smoke was everywhere, and objects were burning all around them. There was only a small chance this girl would be alive anyway, but at least they had to do their best, they thought. Arriving in the rooms, they could hardly see anything, despite their masks. "There's no way to get through," one of them said. "I don't know where to go. We have to watch out, or one of us will die here as well," another said. Ugh, can you guys see anyone?" "There, it's a... Wait a minute. That can't be a little girl. Are you seeing this?" "Hey, mister, what are you doing in here? Get out before you can. This place is going to collapse." But the shady figure didn't move. He stood there, waiting as if he expected something to happen within seconds. Then it happened. The ceiling fell down and surrounded the young man with its pieces of burning debris. He still stood there. He didn't move a muscle. "No, it can't be," one of the firemen said, widening the pupils in his eyes while staring at the scene in front of him. "Unbelievable," another said. "Did you see that? It was as if he knew exactly where the broken ceiling was going to fall. He didn't even get scraped." "Something's wrong," the head fireman said. Before they could say another word, the young man used the same broken ceiling parts to pull himself up to the second floor and vanish from the sight of the firemen. What he was doing they could only guess, but the smoke was becoming too thick, and the flames were about to melt their special suits. They couldn't stand the heat anymore. "We have to go," one of the firemen said. "We can't. What about the girl?" "We did our best. There's nothing left to do here. I realize how tragic it is to leave her alone, but perhaps we can find another way in. We have to exit the building. Follow me." The firemen stepped out of the burning edifice and walked around it to find a different way to enter it, all to no avail. It looked like the building was done for, and with that, everyone inside as well. The mother was crying. There was no consoling her. She refused to be comforted. She felt guiltier than ever. Why did she ever leave her daughter when she was her only hope?
"What kind of a mother am I?" she said in sorrow.
"The kind that tries to save her own life, madam," the fireman answered. But before he went on, he realized that every word would just add to her depressive state. He didn't blame her at all. If only there were a way this could have been prevented, he thought. It was too late now. They tried, and they failed miserably. This is the part of the job he hated so much. But then there was a noise. Everybody looked into the direction of the building, lifting their gaze with a renewed tiny particle of hope. The vapors were thick, but the image soon became clearer. The young man emerged from the flames and the smoking air, holding the living daughter of the grieving mother in his arms. Mouths fell open, hearts started beating faster, and the mother of the girl came running at this mysterious rescuer, thanking him and feeling grateful she could carry her breathing offspring in her arms.
"Thank you," she said. "Whoever you are, I will always be grateful."
"You're welcome," the black guy with the mask said. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have other things to do." With that, he ran off.
"Wait,"
the mother said, reaching out her one hand. But the hero had disappeared. However he pulled that off, the firemen would never understand it. The odds were so much against him that they considered it a miracle, and so did the relieved mother. This was just the first of many important acts to come. Another case was less adventurous but equally dramatic. The media was all over it. The moment was tense, and the crowd was anxious. Cameras were being held by a dozen people, attempting to get a good angle or a decent shot at the unfolding scene. Oohs and ahs were uttered by many as the masses stared up at a single man on the edge of a building balcony, some 100 feet above the ground.
"Don't do it," they were yelling. "It's not worth it. Think about it."
The shouting voices were nothing but muffled echoes in the distance. The man didn't care. He had had it. It was over. What else did he have to live for? His wife left him, and his dire financial situation was impossible to improve. His self-esteem was shattered, as were his purpose and his perspective on happiness itself. He was going to jump. It would be better this way, he told himself. Nobody would lament the loss of his useless life. He was certain of that. Co-workers stood helplessly by in the windows, not daring to come near the dangerous edge of the edifice. They wanted to prevent this useless act of despair more than anything they held dear at that moment, but their incompetence had no boundaries. They just didn't have the guts to jump to the rescue. However, the same masked hero appeared again in this seemingly hopeless scenario. Determined to save this man's life, he leaped up the stairs, sprinting as if his own life depended on it. After reaching the distressed man, he climbed on the edge of the balcony and stood there, next to him, and beckoning him to grab his hand. "What for?" the man said. "My life is pointless anyway. I have no reason to live." "You know that's not true," Kareem said. "I dare you to name 3 people who at least care about you enough to live." "Are you kidding?" the man asked. "Nobody cares about me." "What about all those people down there?" Kareem asked. "They don't care. They just want the news to be spectacular enough to get more viewers to watch their channel." "Well, what about your coworkers?" Kareem asked, pointing at his colleagues in the window. "I don't think they would be devastated if I died," the man said, with tears in his eyes. "What about your children? Do you have any children?" Kareem asked. The man paused. He couldn't control his emotions. He felt abandoned and lonely, but the loving kids who visited him every weekend were crazy about him, despite his flaws. He knew that for sure. He broke down and cried. "You know what? You're right. Life is tough, but I do have something to live for," he said. "Then grab my hand," Kareem insisted, "and we'll get you the psychological help you need." The man reached out and tried to grab Kareem's hand, but he slipped. He was about to fall anyway, but not on purpose. It was a scary moment for everyone who was watching, but not for Kareem. His brain calculated every inch that would move in the near future. He knew where the man was going to hold on and where he was going to let go. In an instant, Kareem bent over and grabbed the wrist of the slipping man, balancing himself and the victimized individual perfectly before pulling him over the edge and helping him back inside. People clapped. They were happy this possibly tragic scene had ended well, at least in the sense that there was still hope for this desperate soul. People came at the man and embraced him, thanked Kareem, and organized a way for the man to rest and get help. Kareem wasn't going to walk down and give a speech. He knew the price of fame, so he disappeared out the back door. There is one more story worth mentioning before expanding on the main crisis this hero found himself in, and that's a bank robbery. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. He was sitting on a terrace, taking small sips while enjoying a cool glass of juice. The day was bright and warm. Nothing seemed to indicate the threatening circumstances the people in his close environment would soon be in. Kareem saw it all happening before it did, though. He foresaw the 3 gentlemen in suits, hiding their faces behind insidious masks, as they would barge into the bank on the other side of the street within minutes. He wouldn't let them. This was his moment of bravery. Out of the blue, he stood up and walked towards the bank. "Can I help you, sir?" someone behind the counter asked. "Shh," Kareem said, holding his finger in front of his mouth. He hid behind a pillar of the expensive, luxurious interior of the company, waiting for the anticipated villains to enter the lobby. His predictions were right. Pulling guns out of their bags, the trio announced their reason for interrupting. Shooting in the air, they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to take the money which is rightfully ours. Move and you die. Stay still, shut up, and you'll live. If we can just all cooperate, nobody will get harmed." The typical thing that always happens was something Kareem saw before it happened as well. "Hey, don't try to be a hero," one of the robbers would say, looking over and seeing an employee reach for his cell phone. "Takadakadak." He would shoot the man in the chest with his machine gun. It didn't really happen, but it was about to happen. It wasn't too late yet. Kareem knew it. Within a flash of a second, he turned around the sturdy column he was leaning his back against and elbowed the robber in his throat. The startled bandit immediately dropped his weapon and fell over. The other two turned around, but it was too late. Kareem had already vanished behind another wall.
"Where did he go?" one of them asked in a scared voice.
"Are you playing games? Show yourself," the other yelled.
Kareem didn't need a mirror. He didn't need a reflecting surface or someone signaling him when it was safe to attack. He knew exactly when the two robbers would turn the other way, and he waited for the precise moment to strike. After about 10 seconds, this is what happened, and with the back of their heads facing his direction, the way was free to grab their heads and bash them against each other. Knockout. All three of them. The guns were lying next to them on the floor, but none of them had the strength to reach for them, since their level of consciousness was that of a skeleton. Before his applause, the hero leapt out of the door and disappeared out of sight. Chapter 2. Famous but Infamous. Anyone who knows about Kareem's superpower to predict the near future must be in shock when they hear that he walks away from the honor he could have received by an impressed crowd. But experience has taught this young hero the harshness of reality and the impulsive judgments of human beings. He has decided to keep himself away from the honor of the masses, since he realizes how fleeting and volatile it is. Kareem comes home and laments the impulsive tendency of these simple creatures to condemn and rebuke. He reflects on a previous occurrence that ruined him financially. Whether or not his rightful money is in his pockets, he does not care. He just wished it would have been otherwise. Why do people always trying to get something for nothing? This is what happened. Someone discovered at some point that Kareem could predict the future, at least in a limited way. He found out by the little things, like when Kareem played cards, caught a bottle falling on the ground, or avoided a dangerous driver when he was crossing the road. This malicious person did not care about making someone suffer. He simply wanted money, as much as possible. His name was Michael. He devised a little scheme and tricked Kareem into losing a lawsuit. The filthy thief. Sad that people get away with those dishonest types of plans. There they were, sitting in a courtroom, exchanging spiteful glares at each other. The room was mostly brown, decorated with simple patterns on the ceiling. Crowds of people were curious to see the outcome of this supernatural phenomenon Kareem was accused of being able to trigger. There were at least 50 people in the courtroom, as well as a few in the hallways who were awaiting the end results. The judge possessed a huge hammer and pounded the pulpit as he pleased, happy to be in charge and being able to exercise his profession. Kareem's lawyer was as incompetent as a young child, but Kareem didn't have a lot, so trying to find a better one was out of the question. "What do you have to say in your defense?" the judge asked Kareem. "Your Honor, I never intended to crack the system or to get money in a dishonest way," Kareem said. "But you know how, and that's not fair," Michael's lawyer blurted out as he got up. "Mr. Kareem," the judge continued, "do you deny the power of foreseeing the nearby future?" "I don't," Kareem boldly declared. "Then don't you think," the judge continued, "that it's potentially dangerous for you to enter the lottery, no matter how low the price of the tickets? If anyone else had this power, they could exert the same to easily win all the money for themselves." "But I didn't," Kareem defended. "He's lying, Your Honor," Michael said. "Order!" the judge shouted. "When I want your witness, I will allow you to come to the stand." "I apologize, Your Honor," Michael said. "Mr. Michael's lawyer, your client has made a terrible accusation. Are you able to back this claim up?" Yes, Your Honor. Exhibit A here shows that Kareem has bought a lottery ticket, fully aware of which numbers would make him win."
Putting the lottery ticket on the table, he smirked and sat back in his chair. "You know I bought that ticket for you," Kareem shouts. "How dare you use this against me, you backstabbing weasel?" "Order! Order!" the judge demands. The whole thing blew up. There was chaos in the courtroom. People were angry, guards were called in to calm down the situation. And to make a long story short, the end result was that while Michael got a truckload of money for winning the case, Kareem had to pay a large fee and was forbidden to ever participate in the lottery, and mixed feelings were present among the populace. Kareem hasn't done much after that to use his predicting power. He has kept a low profile. He doesn't trust the common citizen as much as he used to. Just like any celebrity or someone in the spotlight, there is always danger lurking beneath the surface, caused by those who abuse the system and the evil opportunities laid out for them by life. Chapter 3. Daily Living. Kareem wakes up. He finds himself panting because of a nightmare he doesn't remember. All he knows is that it has left him anxious and sweaty, even minutes after his awakening. It must have been awful dreaming about this. He sits up for a minute or two, then gets up and grabs a cup of chocolate milk. Back to reality. He stares at the pigeons outside. One of them is stupid enough to fly into the glass window. Bang! The fat bird slides down after slightly cracking the glass. Silly pigeon. Why would you fly against the window like that? Didn't he see it? Oh well. Kareem lives in an apartment not too far away from his parents, who live about 6 blocks away from him. Kareem's apartment is small and simple, but he loves it. He loves his own space, with the freedom to do whatever he wants. Every other day, though, he visits his parents to see if they are doing all right. This day is no different from any other day, or so it appears to be at first. Kareem's superpower is limited to the nearby future, but seldom stretches into the foreknowledge of things to come hours or days ahead of him. He doesn't mind. All he wants is to be happy, and if anything comes his way, he will stand ready to help out. Eventually, this day is different than the other days. He senses it. He just doesn't know what is wrong or what is going to be wrong. Either way, he makes himself hurry to his parents' place this time, because his hunch is stronger than ever before. "Knock, knock," he says as he opens the door. Empty. The house is empty. Odd. Where could they be? They said they were expecting him. Kareem is not liking this. Something's not right here. "Mom? Dad?" he yells, hoping for an answer. "Are you here? Remember, I was going to come over today." No answer. He walks through the living room. Everything is in its place. Nothing has been moved. The neat little room is as tidy as ever. He opens the door to the bedroom. What a difference. What a mess. Things are turned upside down in the bedroom. The sheets are off the beds, the dresser has fallen on the floor, and even the mirror has broken into 1,000 pieces. This is not like them. Something happened here. Chapter 4. More Speed. Kareem fears for his parents' lives. The arduous task ahead of him has now become some kind of detective assignment to solve the puzzle and figure out what happened to them. Before calling the police, Kareem tries to find tracks, anything the kidnappers left behind. Through the piles of clothes, the broken furniture, and the ripped mattress, he searches and searches until... "Hey, what's that?" he asks out loud to no one in particular. It's chiseled sandstone. Kareem bends over and rubs the stuff between his fingers. "I know where this is coming from," he says. "There is only one place outside the city where you can find chiseled sandstone, the Miners' Rocks. Perhaps these small grains of sand were in the villain's pocket when he took my parents." He prowls into some other objects, but couldn't find anything specific. "To the Miners' Rocks it is," he says. Kareem heads back to his apartment. He runs through the busy city streets, crosses the crosswalk without waiting for it to become green, and maneuvers his way through the crowds. When he enters his place, he puts on his mask and his superhero outfit. He looks at his old second-hand bicycle. It's a superannuated piece of junk that he just uses to save himself some gas. But this scenario required more extreme measures. Forget the bicycle. There is something better in the garage. "How's it going, buddy?" he says to another vehicle standing in the corner. Lifting the sheet which is covering it, he thinks about the last time he used this amazing speed devil. "Time for a ride," he says in a low voice as he hops on his precious glimmering motorcycle. "This is going to be awesome." The motorcycle is crimson red. Its shiny surface portrays flames and tiny patterns invisible to the naked eye, unless a person comes closer and shows some appreciative respect to it. Its engine is powerful and makes its rider go super fast. Kareem loves this thing. It feels like a dream riding it. It's just more expensive and fragile, which is why he only uses it to get out of the city. "Ready to go, Bikey?" he says, as if talking to an actual person. He sits down, kicks the engine on, and gets ready to speed out the garage door. Vroom! He races through the city and feels alive. Only a couple hours until he gets to the Miners' Rocks. This is going to be... Kareem was going to say fun, but he gets held up by traffic. Great, another red light. And another, and another. It just happens to be rush hour, and Kareem is stuck in a traffic jam with his motorcycle, feeling that the potential of this rapid monster of a vehicle gets untapped. "What a waste," he says. "It's like I could get there faster on foot. If only I had known about this earlier, I could have avoided the rush hour. Now everybody is just going to work at the same time. Ugh." The long, hard struggle to get out of the city is taking a lot longer now. After about 5 hours of sighing and complaining, the rush is finally over. "Woohoo!" Kareem cheers as he takes off and hits a steady average speed of circa 80 miles per hour on the freeway leading out of his hometown, heading for the Rocky Mountain Range. What he will find there will shock him, to say the least. Chapter 5. Impending Danger. This is it, the Miners' Rocks. His parents must be over here somewhere. It seems so simple, and yet it is not. Why? Because there are miles and miles of mountains here, all containing the chiseled sandstone he found in his parents' bedroom. His patience has limits, but his sense of futuristic events helps him find a distinct location on intuition. Kareem searches and searches, and then senses something happening in one of the mountain caves near him. After about an hour of looking around, he finds the deserted cave. Kareem pulls over, puts his motorcycle against a rock, and sneaks into the cave. He has to be prepared for anything, he thinks. "No, I need a different one. Hand me the spruce leaves and the allium," he hears a voice yell. "Okay, boss," a seemingly less intelligent voice answers. As Kareem approaches the light emanating from the hollow opening in the cave, he observes 5 men, each of them armed to the teeth. He can only guess how much the arms and pistols cost that they are holding and keeping in their pockets and holsters. One of the men looks like he is in charge, giving him the impression of a lab rat, with a white coat and a pair of glasses. "I need rare fern, magenta wool, poppies, and some of that chiseled sandstone from the rocks. That will be the correct mixture. Trust me," the man in the white coat says. "Hey, Carl, where do you want this stuff?" "In the corner," the professor says. These combinations sound dangerous, and they are, seeing that this mean man is adding them into a tube next to an immense rocket. Kareem looks around. He analyzes the situation. The rocket? What is that for? The professor, or whatever he calls himself, and the 4 armed men. Then there is the... Hey, those are his parents. On the right side of the cave, his parents are bound and gagged. They can't see Kareem, but Kareem can see them. Nobody has seen him so far, actually, a convenient advantage he is more than willing to use. "Ha ha ha!" the guy with the glasses exclaims. "This is it! Let's test it on our guinea pigs!" He walks over to Kareem's parents and dumps the stuff into their mouths. No! Kareem yells, but it is too late. Why he didn't see this coming, he doesn't know. His powers left him alone. He couldn't predict it. And now this villain poured some who knows what into his parents' mouths. Who goes there? One of the thugs asks after hearing Kareem's cry. Don't bother, Professor Carl says. These two will be ready within seconds. Kareem keeps hiding. But as he looks above the rim of the rock he is hiding behind, he sees his two parents start turn into something different. Their eyes turn red, their mouths start foaming, and their sense of reality seems to disappear as they transform into some monstrous kind of zombies. Needless to say, this new poison they've taken in has a trigger effect on their aggressiveness. Stand back, let's see what they will do, the professor says. Hey, little hero, if you're still there, just come out wherever you are. We won't shoot you. For some reason, Kareem trusts his words and leaves his hiding place. What did you do to them? He asks in anger. You'll find out soon enough, as all of us will, Carl says laughingly. Kareem's parents break their bonds and roar loudly. Ugh. After this expression, they storm at Kareem and jump at him, pulling him to the ground and standing ready to put their teeth into him. Mom, Dad, it's me, Kareem says. Snap out of it, please. But it is to no avail. They have been transformed. They don't have any memory, empathy, or feelings whatsoever, just a bloodthirst and a craving for human flesh. Kareem dodges their attacks and punches one of the thugs in his face before grabbing his firearm. Stand back, he stammers. I don't want to kill you. His parents aren't listening. They are only driven by their urge to kill. Ignoring Kareem's remarks completely, they begin another attack and run at their son. Bam! Bam! What just happened? It is as if time stands still for a moment. Adrenaline is flowing through Kareem's blood. His heart pumps faster than an ADD boy on the drums. He holds his breath. Fumes ascend from his hot rifle. He just killed his parents. A sense of loss and sadness rushes through his very soul. He still can't believe what happened. Ha 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 ha! The evil professor laughs. It works! Ready to load, boys! Without any regard for Kareem and his dead father and mother, the man in the white coat puts a mixture in the rocket, ready to launch the thing. The professor pushes the button and launches the rocket. There it goes! Ha 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 ha! Chapter 6, Mayhem. What did you do? Kareem cries out. You've turned my parents into monsters! I had no choice but to shoot them! Not just your parents, young man, the evil professor says, but the whole city! Ha ha! What do you mean? Kareem asks. I created a substance that will turn everyone into zombie-like creatures just like your parents. I hacked the materials out of these rocks with my stone pickaxe, and they proved to be quite useful. People in the city will hate each other, they will kill each other, and nobody will know how it all started. But why? Why on earth would you do that? Oh, I have my reasons, the evil professor explains. I started out like you. I thought I would help the world by being yourself, but all my experiments got rejected. I had chemistry classes, but they weren't open to my suggestions. Eventually, I lost my family, my money, and it's all thanks to those ignoramuses. They took my life away, and now I am taking theirs. Well, not really. I'm just the one who shows them a little push. And then when panic strikes, when they're ready to beg for a solution, I will sell them the antidote for billions. And they'll buy it no matter what because I will have a powerful monopoly. It's genius. You monster, Kareem yells. Call me what you want, young man, but you're already too late. There's nothing you can do to stop it now. The rocket has been launched. I wouldn't recommend going into town. It might be a little chaotic there. Oh yeah? We'll just see about that, Kareem says as he runs out of the cave. He hops on his motorcycle and starts the engine. Determined to catch up and follow the rocket into town, he hits the gas and figuratively flies through the air, surpassing the speed limit on the freeway to get to his destination in time. He doesn't care about the thugs. He has to let go of his parents for a little while until he has the time to reflect on their deaths. All he has to focus on now is getting back to the city to prevent the disaster from spreading. The professor was right, however. He is too late. Hordes of zombies are already roaming the streets. They attack humans, each other, and anything they can get their claws and teeth on. Kareem dodges a few corpses on the street by jumping his motorcycle over ledges and crisscrossing the vehicle towards the downtown area. What he sees there is one of his biggest nightmares. Chapter 7. Fighting. The downtown area is crazy. As Kareem approaches the burning buildings and fuming piles of debris and corpses, he is confronted by hordes of zombies, hundreds of zombies. He didn't know the gases from the rocket would have such an immediate effect. Is there anyone left to save, or has the whole city been doomed to destruction? Agonizing noises of terror rip through the regular hustle and bustle city sounds like a howling ghost screaming and flying through the air. The worst mayhem in the city's history unfolds before Kareem's eyes. Viewing the scenes and the bloody results of every citizen losing his or her sense of reality makes Kareem shiver. Random riots and explosions of aggression are thrusting everyone's heart with fear and anxiety. Someone has to do something. This is getting out of hand. It already got out of hand. Packed with a set of fighting skills and predicting powers, Kareem storms at the hordes and begins his battle. He punches one zombie here, kicks another there, and each time he is able to foresee their counterattacks and deviate from the patterns of their strikes. Is there ever an end to this? What is he even trying to accomplish? Preventing more fatalities? While avoiding countless zombies and knocking down dozens of other ones, he is trying to figure out how to eliminate the root of the problem. He isn't sure. It seems like there is no stopping the transformation of all these people, some of which are heaped on the floors and the broken streets, while others take out their rage on vulnerable victims. The city has never been in such an awful state before. It spreads like a disease. Innocent martyrs paint the city red with their blood. Chaos breaks the very foundations its largest skyscrapers are built on, and a filthy stench of the dead embellishes the sense of all who come near. But it isn't over yet. It has barely begun. Chapter 8. Calamity. Kareem fights his way through some zombies until a certain gut feeling catches his attention. He sees it happening before it does. A subway train is about to derail and cause hundreds of people to die or get caught up in the horrific movements of the city's former civilians. I have got to stop this thing, Kareem tells himself. I know it is coming from, he closes his eyes, that angle. He opens his eyes and looks at his finger as if he didn't know where he is pointing at. He jumps off a pile of building fragments and starts running into the direction of the subway tracks. Where is the switch? He has to act quickly, or the collision will become one of the biggest tragedies in the city. He looks and looks but cannot find the stupid switch. Then he sees something behind the wall. Aha, he says, sprinting towards the object. It's a lever, a large one that requires someone to pull with all his strength to get it to move. Kareem pulls as hard as he can. Oof, too heavy. Let's try again. This time it budges. Yes, he cheers. But his little celebration is based on a wrong conclusion. The lever is pulled back, but the subway tracks haven't even moved an inch. Why didn't it work? Kareem complains. Meanwhile, the subway train is coming closer. It is racing with an immense speed, unable to stop because of the technological error that has occurred by coincidence. Kareem is getting nervous. He is uncertain as of what to do next. He looks around for another switch or lever. There is nothing there. The subway train approaches. It's getting closer and closer. Bang! The train derails and glissades over the ground, ending up above the surface because of the deviating objects in its way. Floors collapse, people die, fumes of smoke add to the random explosions in numerous places. Zombies get run over. Blood and horror depict the tragic scene as the so-called hero watches by helplessly, lamenting the loss of the lives he could have saved. "No!" he screams. Chapter 9. Deja Vu. Kareem wakes up. He finds himself panting because of a nightmare he doesn't remember. All he knows is that it has left him anxious and sweaty, even minutes after his awakening. It must have been awful dreaming about this. He sits up for a minute or two, then gets up and grabs a cup of chocolate milk. Back to reality. He stares at the pigeons outside. One of them is stupid enough to fly into the glass window. Bang! Reality strikes. It hits him like a baseball bat. What the? He's seen this scene before. He remembers his horrific dream. This is real. Is all that stuff with the zombies and the poor victims really going to happen? Are his parents going to be kidnapped? There is only one way to find out, and this time he's not going to let some traffic jam or search in the mountains put a time limit on him. He knows the location. He believes in his dream. It has to be real. Why else would the same fat pigeon from his dream fly into the same window? Determined to prevent the awful events in his nightmare, he runs downstairs, opens the garage door, pulls the sheet off his motorcycle, and hits the gas. Vroom! No traffic, no holdup. Good. First, he visits his parents. Within a minute, he arrives at their places. Bam! He swings the door open, letting it crush against the sidewall. "Mom, Dad!" "What's the matter, son?" his dad asks. "You have to get out of here. Come on, I have no time to explain. I will tell you later. We are running out of time." Okay, if you say so," his dad says obediently. "As long as you'll explain it to us later," his mother adds. Of course. Now let's go. We're really in a hurry here." Both parents get on the back of Kareem's motorcycle. "Oh, this is dangerous," his mother says. "It will be okay, Mom, for now. I will drop you off at the library. It's on the way where I am going anyway. Just promise me you'll stay in there until I'm back." "Okay, Whoa!" his mother exclaims, since Kareem isn't even waiting for her to finish her sentence. He already hit the gas and has taken off into the direction of the library. After dropping his parents off, he races through the streets to his destination in the countryside. "And now I'll deal with you, Carl," Kareem says in a firm, resolute voice. He takes off again, avoiding the traffic jams because of the earliness of his trip. He rides his flaming vehicle out of the city and finds the mountain range he is looking for within a considerable amount of time. He recognizes the cave from his dream, but this time his parents aren't in there yet, nor has the evil professor completed or tested the invention of his toxic substance yet. Kareem doesn't hesitate. He knows what's going to happen. He walks right up to the thugs standing guard. "Hey, who are you?" the professor asks, surprised. "I'm the one who is going to bring you down," Kareem says confidently as he keeps stepping forward. "Shoot him already!" Professor Carl screams. Bang, bang, tag-a-tag-a-tag. They missed. They all missed. Kareem's senses were at a peak. He could feel exactly when and where the bullets would go. Dodging them perfectly, he lifts one side of his mouth into a smirk as he watches the bullets fly through the air without hitting their destined target. With his fists, he takes out each of the 4 guards around the professor, knocking them out one by one and leaving them on the cold floor of the cave. No, I was just trying to help mankind, don't you see? I mean no harm," the professor claims. Kareem grabs him by the throat and holds him against the stony wall. "You're a big, fat liar," he says. "I know what you're planning on doing, but this is where it stops." He drops the professor on the ground. What are you intending to do? Carl stutters. Watch, Kareem says in a form of calm anger. He gathers his strength and begins to smash every tube, every piece of glass, every fluid, and every element on the chemistry table. The rocket doesn't get spared, but bent in half by the powerful hands of this superhero. No, Professor Carl cries. Not my experiment! You have no idea how hard I worked on that! Do you know what you're doing to me? Kareem turns around. Yes, I do. And now the police is going to think of what they are going to do to you. I'm taking you with me. Kareem grabs the evil professor and takes him out of the cave. Dragging him over the rocky ground, he finally looks at him, punches him in the face, and throws the knocked-out professor on his motorcycle. The city has been saved. The diseases and disaster have been prevented. The sun is rising, birds are chirping, and the chilly breeze feels nice in his face. The smell of fresh flowers fondles his nose. An enjoyable motorcycle ride lies ahead of him. I think this will be a good day after all, Kareem says with a satisfied face while hitting the gas. And I think I will even be in the city so quickly to avoid the traffic jams. The end. This has been Story of a Superhero, the superhero who stopped the zombie plague, Kids Adventure Stories. Written by Jeff Child, narrated by John H. Feskins. Copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. Production copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. The Dark Beast, a scientific experiment gone wrong. Kids Adventure Stories. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. This amazing story is about a big black monster that terrorized Veen City. Its destructive powers and gigantic size were a threat to the entire existence of the people in the said location. However, two individuals are determined to stop the mayhem and battle the giant with all their strength. They have different ideas about how to handle the situation, though, and they seem to have misunderstandings along the way. I like to spike the drama and paint the picture of each book by adding details and emotion. This one is no different. The disaster waiting to happen in Veen City is about to explode and affect numerous people. So don't wait, and read about how those two very different men try to prevent it. Chapter 1. Science. This isn't it, Geron the professor says, scratching his head. It needs something else. I think I am doing it all wrong. The formula seems correct, but something is still missing here. Professor Geron is an ordinary lab rat, or in other words, someone who has spent his whole life figuring out substances and combining chemical fluids and materials. He is amazed by the effects of one fluid mixed with another. It fascinates him. It has always fascinated him. That's why he went to university 10 years ago, to study chemistry and biology, mostly chemistry. His final theses and papers were full of complicated calculations the teachers didn't even understand. He always outsmarted them, but now it looks like he hasn't followed the right formula. It frustrates him. He has run into problems before, and has even had explosions in his lab, but this time he has been doing math for days, looking up numerous theories and scientific facts, and he still hasn't figured it out. His patience has its limits, too. I give up, he says, throwing his hands up in the air. I'll continue later. It's just one of those things that takes forever. It doesn't matter how much effort he puts into it. He just wants to get it done. Why does it have to be so difficult? He wonders. I have succeeded with countless experiments and have taken science to a higher level. This formula is just too complex. There must be something I am lacking. But what? He walks out the door and returns home after a long day of 10 hours of work. His wife greets him with a kiss at his homecoming, rebuking him for working overtime again. But honey, the professor says, This is extremely important. Can't you see the turnaround this society will have if we get this mixture working? It will be a revolution."
"I know, but you have to take it easy sometimes. There's more to life than work," she says.
At that moment, his 3 children come running into the room.
"Dad!"
the smallest boy yells.
"Dad, you're home! Finally!" his daughter says. "I want to show you my drawing. Can you come take a look? It's in the living room."
Okay, Geron says. "I will take a look at it." The oldest son doesn't look so good. He looks sad. His head is hanging down, and he slowly strolls towards his father. "What's the matter with you, son?"
"I bumped my head and lost the sports game."
"Oh, that doesn't sound like fun. Come here. Where does it hurt?" Geron asks.
"Well, it's gone now, but I still hate that it happened."
"That's life, son. I'm glad you understand. Bad things happen all the time. And losing? Just look at me. I've been trying to figure out a formula for the past week, and I still don't comprehend it."
As he is saying it, he realizes that he let it get to him. His discouragement got the best of him, and he has given up too fast. Some things just take a long time anyway, and if this is really as big as he expects it to be, putting a little time into it is the least he can do. He sees himself as this little boy who is downtrodden because he is losing or lost. And this new awareness has made him determined again. Tomorrow he will go back and try again, and again, until he understands the correct mixture.
"Don't worry, son," he finally says. "You may have lost the game, but you haven't lost the league. And let's see if you can beat this tickle monster."
Geron leans over and starts tickling his kid. The other 2 jump on his back, and a rough and tumble game begins. For several minutes, the fun with his children doesn't stop, and fortunately, nobody gets hurt, which actually does happen sometimes. "Dinner time!" Geron's wife shouts. "Come on, guys, don't let it get cold."
"Hold on," Geron says. "I still have to see our daughter's drawing."
After his daughter shows off her talent, and he proudly pats her on the head, he thinks about what he said to his own son. He lost another game, another match, by not being able to get the formula right. But the league is far from over. Tomorrow there is a new day, and he might just get it this time. And if not, then in 5 days, or 10, or 20. This new combination of fluids is going to be grand. It will have a profound effect on hunger, the economy, and people's lifestyles. It's worth fighting for. Chapter 2. The Army. On the other side of town, a corporal yells his lungs out.
"Forward, march! 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Keep moving, you lazy bedbugs!"
Corporal Jack has dealt with numerous challenging situations. He is a man of honor. Always putting his best foot forward, he has gained favor with the generals in the city's army. In hundreds of battles, he has fought threatening black shades, skeletons, zombies, monsters, vampires, and other perilous creatures from the deep and dark lands. One time, he stood before hundreds of black shades, who were already provoked by the staring soldiers in his army. At first, the coast seemed clear, but then Jack saw a glimmer in their eyes, an angry sparkle emanating from deep in their souls. They were furious and about to attack.
"Pull back!"
he yelled, but the noises of the storm they were in outweighed his voice. Thick clouds had already burst into bolstering thunder, and terrifying lightning flashes had set the scene for a more dramatic war that was already raging. Rain was pouring on each and every soldier, soaking their clothes and muting the sounds of their voices. They didn't listen. They didn't pull back. As one weapon, they marched forward to the threatened black shades, who were in no way willing to forgive or stand down what had just caught their attention.
"Get back! Retreat!"
Corporal Jack kept yelling, but only a handful of the men obeyed his orders. The others were too oblivious of the fact that these black shades were about to run into them and completely pulverize them with their numbers. So they marched forward, not even noticing the few men that pulled back with Corporal Jack. All they focused on were the monsters in front of them,
The black shades kept still, but inside, they were boiling with a raging fire that was about to explode. Hundreds of black shades were standing there, in the obscure chaos of heavy rain, creepy trees, and a soaked field of moss and random blades of grass. Corporal Jack was overwhelmed. More than anything, he wanted to save these men from the terrible fate that was about to beset them, but he felt helpless. "Give me that bomb," he finally said to a nearby soldier. He snatched the item from his hand and ran forward. Side by side, the majority of the men were still marching towards their enemy, but Jack was going to stop these creatures from harming his valiant boys. As fast as his legs could carry him, he sprinted in front of his entire army with the bomb and a few matches in his hand. A few 100 feet in front of them, he knelt down and lit one of the matches. Psst! The fire from the match got quenched by the wetness of the weather. "Stupid, irritating matches! Come on!" he said as he anxiously stroked the matches and lit them up one by one. "There!" he said excitedly when he managed to light up a match and the fuse of the bomb. He stuck it in the ground and ran back. "Go back! Get out of here!" he yelled to the men he was running at, waving his arms in the air. They finally understood. They had seen him place the bomb in the soil. Now the men were sprinting back and panicking, moving into all different directions, except for the one between them and the black shades. "You two, get back!" Corporal Jack shouted in another soldier's ear. "Don't you see? It's about to explode!" Boom! The explosion burnt a hole in the ground in a perimeter of 100 feet, causing the grass to catch fire, as well as a few poor trees next to the field. The sky lit up. The smoke covered the atmosphere. The black shades shied away. They hated the light and the fire. The previous provocation wasn't enough for them to strike back. The hundreds of dark creatures reacted by running away in the opposite direction, never to be heard of again. The corporal had saved his men. He had prevented their destruction. His courageous deed would be long remembered in the years to come. Satisfied about his accomplishments, Jack watched the men march, do push-ups, and struggle to get in shape and run through an obstacle course. The battle has become a treasured memory, and the future looks bright. Jack is not afraid of anything, or so it seems. He hates laziness and loves discipline. As a commanding officer, he ranks above the lowest soldiers in the army, which he doesn't take lightly. More than anything, he has decided to take these slackers on and teach them what it means to be a man. When someone disobeys his orders, which has happened before, he knows how to manipulate these weak souls into tougher tests so they can grow up and develop their strengths. Some hate him for it. Others think it's an unfortunate necessity to kick the softness out of their spoiled characters. It's for their own good, and they will see it later. Nobody develops character without adversity, and he knows it more than anything. Some of that adversity came when his wife left him. They had been trying to work out their relationship for years, but the problems in their home were too confrontational, so they chose to separate. However, seeing his children only once per week brought him sadness. Since it happened 10 years ago anyway, he has somewhat accepted the situation and made attempts to toughen up by telling himself it wasn't all his fault. The future for his family remains uncertain, but just to compensate, he has forced himself to work hard at securing the future of the city by protecting it. That is his mission. It's the only thing he knows how to do right. After training the cadets, he returns to his office and finds his commanding officer there, standing and looking at a few photographs. "Have a seat, Corporal," he says. "What are you doing here, sir?" "Sit down and we'll talk," he says in a friendly tone. Corporal Jack sits down and leans on his desk with one elbow. He is intrigued. The last time the general came to his office was a year ago. He has been so busy since then that he hardly saw him at the military terrain at all. The general starts. "You may be aware of some of the projects the Army has supported in the past." "Certainly, sir," Jack says. "Good. Recently, we started a project in collaboration with a lab, and we haven't even heard anything for weeks. In the meantime, the professor there is draining our bank account by charging us the regular hour wage and not reporting any valuable results. In other words, he is wasting our time and our money. I want you to go to the lab and see how far the project has progressed. If nothing good has come out of it, I want you to shut it down. We don't have room for leeches who take advantage of the system."
"Yes, sir. I will leave first thing in the morning, sir."
"Thank you, Corporal. I expected nothing less. That will be all." Chapter 3. Arguing. It's early in the morning. Professor Jaron opens the front door of the lab. His key gets stuck for a few seconds, but after a while he easily pulls it out. He turns on the lights, puts his bag on the floor, and looks at the failed experiment he interrupted yesterday because he got tired of it. He sighs. It already looks discouraging, and he hasn't even done anything yet. Jaron thinks for a second and realizes again how big this discovery could be. The consequences could be magnificent. He has to pursue his dreams and go on with this formula. He decides not to linger on these thoughts any longer and goes to work. He has barely started mixing substances together and writing complex calculations on a piece of paper. He hears a knock on the door. Knock, knock. "I'm coming," Jaron yells. He finishes a few notes he was making. Knock, knock. "Yes, I said I was coming. Patience, please." He walks to the door and opens up. Without further ado, the corporal walks in and takes a peek. Then he turns around and announces the reason of his visit.
"I am here to check if you are making any progress," he says in a stern voice.
"Oh, yes," Jaron answers. "I have made tremendous progress, but we're just not there yet. I just need more time."
"I see," Jack says, "but the officer ranking higher than me has instructed me to shut this place down if you do not report any significant changes. You have a deadline, which is tonight. If your experiment doesn't have any results, we will close this place."
"Oh no, don't do that," the professor begs. "I just need a little longer. Don't you see the impact this can have on society? I am creating a substance that can make plants and fruits grow faster. If I succeed, starvation will be over all over the world. All we would have to do is put it in the crops, and they'll grow 10 times faster and larger. The economy would get a boost, and everyone would prosper."
"I understand. I will stay with you today and help you wherever I can, unless you don't want me to, of course. But no matter what we do, it has to end tonight."
"I will try to hurry," Jaron says. They work at it all day, mixing this or that, writing formulas and drawing conclusions and overviews. Obviously, Corporal Jack has no clue what he is doing scientifically, but at least he gives Jaron some support and encouragement. Eventually, late in the evening, Jaron says, "It is not completely done yet, but I just need one more day. That's all I need. Could you please give me one more day?"
"Sorry," Jack says. "I have my orders. Finish it now or shut it down."
"Can't you be a little more flexible?" Jaron asks.
"No, I cannot. Now hurry up and do what you have to do."
"But it's not done yet," Jaron lashes out.
"I don't care, Professor. You have until midnight," Jack sneers back.
"Fine, I'll just try it out, but I might be wrong about this, and I don't want to be held responsible for the consequences. You gave me this deadline."
"Do whatever you want. Just make sure you close tonight," Jack says.
"Okay, here we go." Jaron takes a tube and carefully pours it on a plant. They watch patiently and wait for the results. Nothing. "What? Why? Why isn't it working? I almost had it right," the professor complains. "I'm going to try more."
"You better know what you're doing," Jack says.
Jaron takes another tube and pours the whole content on the tomato plant. He steps back and waits. Hey, what's that? Something is boiling. That's not the chemical reaction he expected. He gets a little closer and observes the boiling soil. "This is impossible," he says.
"What's impossible?" Jack asks.
"This chemical reaction only happens when there is a dark pearl involved."
"You put a dark pearl underneath the plant?"
"Well, I didn't do that. It must have been there when the boy dug up the plant I asked him to bring me."
"And what does that mean?" Jack asks.
"I don't know. It's reacting and I don't understand how. This is amazing." It is amazing, but not in the way the two men hoped it would be. The dark pearl keeps boiling and boiling. It's growing faster than they thought it would. Within seconds, the pearl has increased in size so much that it now looks as big as a brick. And it doesn't stop there. It keeps growing and growing.
"I don't like the looks of this," Corporal Jack admits.
"It's incredible, but I wonder if it will stop," Professor Jaren agrees. It's not stopping. By now it has grown as big as the both of them and is leaning against the ceiling. Black shade shapes are being formed by the pearl, creating a head, arms, and legs. Still in its infant state, the pearl continues to flexibly fill up the lab's space and exponentially push the two individuals out the door.
"We have to leave, now!" Jack shouts.
"No, we cannot desert it. I want to see how it develops. This has never happened before."
"You stubborn fool! Follow me out of here or I'll knock you out. This is getting out of control."
Chapter 4: The Beast. Professor Jaren feels sad leaving his growing experimental pearl. His curiosity has taken over, but after a while he sees the necessity of protecting their lives by fleeing too. They open the door and run out of the lab. Crash! Just in time they jump from the building onto the street. When they look up, they see the monstrous pearl break through the roof. The pearl has now taken form and looks like a large black man.
"You vague, absent-minded idiot! You really had no idea what you were doing, did you?" Corporal Jack yells as they run for their lives. "Take off your coat, it's slowing you down."
Professor Jaren drops his coat and looks back as he runs behind the corporal. He feels like he achieved something, but then again, it has become a disaster.
"Keep running," the corporal commands. "Don't look back."
But this only kindles Jaren's desire to look back even more. Now he really wants to know what has become of his creature. He stops running, catching his breath, and turns around. He cannot believe his eyes. The monster has grown to over 100 feet tall. Its arms and legs are long, its face is dark and creepy, with glowing eyes and diabolic horns on its head. It looks at the two of them with a penetrating stare, as if it is trying to say that it's going to chase after them. "It's gigantic!" the professor exclaims.
"My goodness," Jack says as he glances back. "What have you done?"
They can't help but stand there and stare at the roaring monstrosity. It's hard to believe what they are seeing. There is no time, though. They have to keep moving.
"Follow me to the base," Corporal Jack suggests. "We can discuss how to defeat this thing there."
No sooner said than done, the two arrive at the military base. They run in anxiously, alarming several soldiers that danger is on the way there. After a few turns, they enter the general's office.
"Excuse me, sir," Jack says. "I'm sorry to barge in like this, but we have a serious problem."
Chapter 5: Cityscape. "What is so important that you have to disturb my meeting, Corporal? I demand an immediate explanation," the general says.
"Remember that scientific project you sent me to? The one you were going to shut down? Well, it has backfired on us."
"What do you mean with backfired?"
"Well, the professor and I were inside, and when we tested this liquid on a tomato plant, something began to grow. It became huge."
"Would you explain it to me in more detail, please? What exactly grew so big?" "That!" Jaren yells as he points to the monster through the window. "Holy cow!" the general exclaims. "It's like a black shade, but bigger." "Seems like an appropriate name for my creation," Jaren mumbled with almost a little pride in his voice. "I don't have time for this, Corporal. I was about to head out when you stepped in, but upon my departure, I am giving you full command of the troops in this region. Congratulations, Major. You just got promoted, temporarily, depending on the condition that you get rid of this thing. If you don't, you will be degraded to the rank of soldier. The outcome of your career is in your hands now. Good luck." With that, the general sticks the symbols of the said rank on Jack's shoulder and disappears out the back door, leaving Jack with his new rank behind, who has big eyes and an open mouth, looking at the situation in amazement. He can't believe he just got promoted, but he realizes, too, that he will lose his entire status if he doesn't blow this monster up. Suddenly, he snaps out of it and takes control. He marches outside and looks at the panicking soldiers in the camp.
Men, gather your weapons. I am in command now. Get your muskets from the ammunition room. You two, go around the corner. Move, move, move,
Major Jack yells as he claps in his hands to encourage the soldiers to take initiative.
Professor Jern, if there's anything you can do to help, do it. If not, get out of our way right now. This is a military operation now.
Yes, sir,
Jern says. He can't think of anything to stop the giant beast, and he doesn't want to be an annoyance. Moreover, he doesn't want to die here, so he decides to go back to the destroyed lab they left behind. Meanwhile, Major Jack is commanding his troops and doing everything he can to stop the dangerous threat. The beast stomps on tents and barracks with its feet, swipes away trees and buildings with its arms, and breaks rocks with its fists. The soldiers have grabbed their muskets and are lined up to fire at the beast.
Ready? Aim! Fire!
Major Jack commands. A dozen bullets fly through the air, only to drop dead on the floor after bouncing off the beast's hard skin.
Again,
Major Jack says.
Aim at its head this time. Reload. Ready? Aim. Fire!
The bullets hit the beast's head and repeat the same pattern. They drop on the floor like flies, all to no avail.
Major, one of the soldiers says, we cannot kill this thing. It's too strong. We need better equipment and stronger weapons.
You're right, Jack says. Pull back. Let's get the bombs out.
The army retreats to the ammo storage and gets out all the bombs they can find. A few soldiers haul them out while others stand ready with fire to light them. After several minutes, 6 bombs are being thrown at the gigantic monster.
Take cover!
The soldiers drop to the floor on their stomachs and cover their heads. Boom! A half-dozen bombs explode at the same time, tearing the sky with their light, their fire, and their unbearable noises. Thick smoke emerges from the hit location, as well as countless pieces of debris, grit, and dust. When the soldiers look up, they are hopeful and expect the beast to be gone, but their expectations aren't being met. Without a scratch, the black being steps out of the immense destruction attempt. Impatiently, it walks past the army with several giant steps, heading into the direction of the city.
This is terrible, Major. It will reach the city in no time, one of the soldiers says.
Let's go after it, the major suggests. We have to keep trying. It's gotta have a weak spot.
Chapter 6. Planning. In the meantime, Jaren sadly arrives at what is left of his lab, the place where it all started. He picks up a few beakers and tubes that have been shattered by the growing monster and looks at them with a glum expression on his face. What on earth has he done? He has unleashed a monster, caused a disaster waiting to happen. His self-esteem is shot, his confidence is broken. All he wants now is to crawl under a rock and hide himself from the world. He glances to the corner of his experiment and sees his notes on the table. After walking to the table, he puts his hand on the notebook he left behind and flips through the pages. One by one, he finds the formulas he scribbled in there, the symbols, the equations, and the overview of lined-up data that helped him create the fluid. If only he could reverse this catastrophe.
Wait a minute, he says. What if I turned X around in this calculation? That would make sense. The most logical outcome of this formula is the opposite of the root divided by...
And so he goes on for a few minutes. He starts taking notes on another page and gets excited about his new discovery. Completely focused on his possible solution, he isn't noticing the shaking ground caused by the beast that has reached the city by now. The beast stomps on the ground, crashing houses and knocking over buildings along the way. People all over Miners City run to all different directions in an attempt to evade the large disaster that has entered their town. Screams by girls and women are heard, as well as scared cries of so-called brave young men and fathers who are terrified. Homes are burning, churches are turned into ruins, and tiny businesses are turned upside down by the frequent stomping and slamming of the angry beast. Chaos is in the air. Desperate souls are trying to save their own skin. Futile attempts from the military include still shooting at the detected threat.
"Major, I'm so glad you are here," Jaren exclaims. "I may have found the antidote. If it works, it will reverse the effects of the growth spurt."
"What are you saying, that you can undo this mistake?"
Jack asks.
"That's exactly what I am saying."
"Then what are we waiting for? Let's give it to him."
"Well, there's a problem," Jaren says. "It has to be injected into the scalp, meaning someone has to climb on its head and put the injection needle in its brain. That's the only logical way, I am sure of it. The equations all make sense now."
"And how do you think we can do that, Professor? It seems nearly impossible what you ask of us."
"Well," Jaren begins, "I made a plan. I didn't expect this to be easy. The monster is so tall that it would take a great effort to climb all the way up there. It bends over sometimes, but not enough to time it perfectly. We just can't afford to take a chance on this."
"Then what do you suggest?"
Major Jack asks curiously.
"Let's trip that thing. If we can extend a strong cord from one end to the other, we might be able to tangle its feet up and wrap the cord around its ankles, causing it to fall. And that will give us a minute or two for someone to climb on his head and inject the needle."
"Makes sense. Let's get to it."
Chapter 7. Defeat. Within minutes, Jack manages to get a big group of soldiers together and commands them to fetch some rope.
"The strongest and thickest you can find," he adds. "And the 5 of you over there, keep shooting to distract the monster. We are going to set the trap on the other side of the town square. Set the clock at 2 minutes. After that, you'll run like your life depends on it to the destined location. We will meet there and span the ropes to trip it. Understood?"
"Affirmative." "All clear, sir."
"Then move. Come on, Professor, you can come help set the trap."
Jaren runs after Jack and arrives at the town square. Not too much later, a group of soldiers brings a large rope.
"Is that all you could find?"
Jack asks. "Sorry, sir, that's the best we could do."
"Fine, I guess it will have to do for now. Let's hope it works. Hand me that needle, Professor."
"You mean that you're going to jump on the monster's head?"
"Of course. I'm not going to let one of my men sacrifice himself. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Besides, if I mess up, at least I'll have no one else to blame."
"Okay,"
Jaren says.
"Good luck."
The beast is coming closer. The 2 minutes are over. The men in front of it are shooting in the air and yelling their lungs out, luring the monster into the rope trap the Major and his men set. Without hesitation, the beast follows these supposed lunatics and roars angrily at them while stomping behind them.
"Faster, faster, get over here!"
Jack yells. The running soldiers hide behind the wall of a nearby building and pant heavily.
"Now it's our turn, men,"
Jack says. The soldiers span the rope. The beast comes closer and closer and trips over the rope precisely as planned. Bam! The monstrous giant falls on the town square, along with a couple of unfortunate homes. Crash! Bits and pieces of the tiles, the roofs, and the monument are being bounced up from the collision. The beast is down, lying on its side, barely aware of what just happened.
"It's just you and me now, ugly head,"
Jack says, before he runs towards the beast's head. He leaps over bricks and pieces of the broken monument, grabs onto the monster, and climbs on its head. The beast growls and whacks at him with his hand. Whoosh! It almost got him, but because the Major ducked, the hand missed him. Jack uses the monster's horns to pull him around the head, takes a few steps to what he thinks is the center of its scalp, and injects the needle.
"Take that, you filthy beast,"
he says with conviction, after which he glides off the beast's body. At first, it seems ineffective, but then, after about 10 seconds, the beast begins to shrink. It becomes smaller and smaller. The soldiers, the professor, and the major stand by and watch as the beast slowly turns from a monster into a pathetic little pearl. Chapter 8. Friendship.
"Well, would you look at that?" Professor Jaren says. "What a cute little dark pearl we have here."
"Yeah, if I didn't know any better, I would destroy it right now,"
Major Jack adds. The soldiers gather around the spot where the monster disappeared, finding it hard to believe their eyes. They look at the tiny pearl and remain speechless.
"Thank you for all you've done, Major,"
Jaren says, holding his hand in front of him. Jack shakes his hand.
"I'm sorry I got on you for your mistake, Professor. You are an intelligent addition to this army and to the city. It was an honor to work with you, and thanks to you I have progressed in my career. My high rank will stay because you invented the antidote."
"Good. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go home to my family. Are you married, Major?"
"Divorced,"
the major answers.
"I'm sorry to hear that. Why don't you come over for dinner sometime, just to have some fun? In fact, how about you just follow me to my home right now? My wife is an expert at cooking casseroles. Trust me, they are the best."
"All right," Jack says. "That sounds like a great idea. I have to admit that the tomato plant a few hours ago already made me hungry. I don't know how you do it, staying up so late and not even grabbing a snack or something. Do you think dinner will still be warm? It's almost midnight."
"I'm sure it will be. And if not, we'll just warm it up. I've had numerous times when a warmed-up dinner tasted even better than before. Speaking of which, did I tell you about the time I invented food additive to enhance the flavor of it? It's a long story. I'll tell you all about it on the way home."
The two new friends walk through the narrow alleys of the city, ready to eat a delicious meal. The end. This has been The Dark Beast, a scientific experiment gone wrong, kids' adventure stories. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. Production copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. The Dead Speak. Story about a powerful pickaxe. Adventure stories for kids. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. When Doug sees a shiny object in his yard and decides to dig it up, he is excited about his newfound gift, a golden pickaxe. But no matter how valuable a golden pickaxe appears to be, he notices that as soon as he possesses the object, he is getting weird and scary dreams. Each time he wakes up, however, he wonders if there is any significance to those dreams, and where the golden pickaxe actually came from. Listen more to learn what this thrilling story reveals about the origin of the golden pickaxe. Chapter 1. Doug the Digger. My name is Doug. Pretty ironic, because this diary is all about something I dug up. I was a construction worker. I lived in a decent-sized village with a lot of miners. There was a mine nearby, and I went to work every day. Since I was single, I was pretty content with my living circumstances, and didn't feel like I had to please anyone besides myself. But the sequence of events that happened sometime in July changed my perspective on life. Moreover, my little house became a symbol of everything that can go wrong in life. One day, I was on my way home when I saw my neighbor working in his yard. "Hi there, neighbor," I said. "What are you doing?"
"My wife wants the weeds gone. It's a lot of work," he said.
"What's the point?" I asked. "They will grow back anyway."
"I know, that's what I keep telling her, but she didn't want to hear it. Instead, she handed me a shovel, a rake, and some other stuff. I've been digging for 2 hours. I am allowed back in to eat dinner when it's done."
That just goes to show you who is wearing the pants in the family.
Just wait until you are married, man. We'll see if you'll end up the same way."
"Don't try to discourage me," I said. "I know marriage isn't everything, but I would love to start that happily ever after life someday."
"Good luck to you. It's not for everyone. Some people die without that chance. I was just lucky."
"I'm glad you see it that way. I have to go. Have fun in the yard."
"Yeah, right. Depends on your definition of fun,"
he mumbled, but I had already gone inside. I put my miner's helmet on the table and sat down on the couch. When I put my feet up, my little wiener dog jumped on my lap. "Otto," I said, "I am glad to see you. I had a long day at work. The mines were full of minerals and valuable blocks, but now I can relax. How was your day?" "Woof, woof," Otto said. "Of course your day was good. You're a dog. You don't have to work," I said while laughing. I kicked back in my chair and poured some juice into a cup. I took a sip and said, "This is the good life." That's when I fell asleep. I don't know how long I slept, but it probably wasn't long because before I knew it, I heard Otto bark. "Woof, woof, woof." "Huh? What's going on?" I said. Otto was running back and forth as if he was trying to show me something. I followed him and ended up in the yard. When I came there, I found out what he was barking about. Chapter 2. Golden Pickaxe. In the corner of my yard there was a shiny object. It was partially covered by sand. I bent over to know what it was, but there was only a small part sticking out of the ground. "Time to get the shovel," I said. "Woof, woof," Otto agreed. I went to the shed behind my house and grabbed the shovel. I started digging like crazy because I was curious to see what it was. "Oof, I'm getting a little tired, Otto," I said. "I've already been working all day." Eventually, I made it through and pulled out the shiny object. "Wow," I exclaimed. "It's a golden pickaxe. Those are pretty expensive." This was excellent. I had been wanting one of these for a while, but I never put the money away to buy one. I went back inside and put it near the front door. Satisfied with life, I leaned back in my chair again and drank another sip of my juice. "Tomorrow," I said. The next day, I left my stone pickaxe at home and took my golden pickaxe. It was great. My co-workers, the other miners, gave me jealous looks.
"Where did you get that?" one of them asked.
"From my backyard," I said. "I was just there and I dug it up." "Ha! Dug it up. That's the pun of the day."
"You know, one of those pickaxes recently disappeared in the village," one of the men said.
"I didn't know that," I said. "What happened?"
"Well, if we knew that, it wouldn't be gone anymore now, would it?"
"I guess not," I said. "Hey, you're not implying that I stole this, are you?"
"I'm not implying anything," my coworker said. "All I am saying is that this could be the same one. If you claim that you found it in your backyard, then who am I to judge you? The question you have to ask yourself is, how did it end up there?"
"You're right. I don't know," I said. "But I'm not complaining. I like it."
"Well, you've worked hard, Doug. You deserve it. Enjoy it. Perhaps we'll find out where it came from after all, huh?"
"Yes, perhaps." It made me think, but I didn't have all the answers. How was I supposed to know? I just found it. When I went home that night, I was exhausted. The pickaxe was handy. It was easy to work with. But to get more done, I worked even harder than usual, so I was just as tired anyway. I did the same thing as the night before. I sat back on my chair, petted my dog Otto, and drank a sip from my juice. Then I fell asleep in my comfortable chair. Chapter 3. Dark Dream. I was in the back alleys of some giant metropolis. It was dark, and the streets were filled with an eerie fog, mixed together with the smell of wet dogs and sweat. I didn't know how I ended up there. It was a mystery to me. When I looked to the side, I knew where the odors were coming from. A homeless person with his dog was sleeping underneath a few blankets, and his bag of stuff was filled with food leftovers from the previous day. I reached over and put several coins in his hat, which was lying next to him, upside down on top of the dog. I looked the other way and saw a girl run at me. "Whoa, what's going on?" I asked her as she approached me.
"Help! Help me!" she uttered. "I am being chased by an explosive monster!"
I grabbed hold of her and made sure she didn't trip. Then I slowly helped her and sat her down next to the beggar, who had woken up by that time. He was rubbing his eyes and didn't think anything of the situation. The green monster was coming. I knew it. I felt it. But I was going to protect this girl from him. The monster came around the corner. Its silhouette was showing against the light. It had the shape of a monster, but it wasn't just any green monster. It had a red jacket. It made me laugh and shiver at the same time. My mind was going nuts. While the cells in my brain were aligning the information in front of me and asked the question why a monster would have a red jacket, half of my body became numb for a second or two, realizing that this monster could run to me and explode in our faces. And it came. The explosive monster ran at me. It ran faster and faster, so I ran towards it. Out of thin air, the golden pickaxe appeared in my hand. I held it firm with my steady grip, unaware of its origin. I ran at the monster and tried to kill it with my pickaxe. "Ready?" "Gah!" I yelled. I almost hit it, but the monster ducked and ran straight past me. I stopped. I turned around and saw the monster run at the girl. It was totally out to get her, not me. That's why it avoided me and went towards its target. The monster began to flicker. "No!" I exclaimed, but it was too late. The monster exploded. The beggar and the girl died. When I went towards the scene of death, her dead hand was holding a piece of red cloth she had ripped from the monster. I couldn't save her. "No!" I shouted again. Then I woke up. I panted heavily. It had all been a dream. I was relieved when reality dawned on me. Otto was looking at me with a surprised face. This dog obviously didn't understand what had happened in my mind while I was asleep. "It's okay, Otto," I said. "It was just a dream." Or was it? Chapter 4. Another Dream. The next day, when I went to work, I felt a little drowsy. I wasn't too sure of what had happened to me, but it was like the dream of the previous night was cursing my perception of reality and was covering my eyes with a thick cloud of darkness. I didn't like it, to say the least. I kept digging with the golden pickaxe. Despite the lack of attention from my coworkers, it wasn't news anymore that I had one, and went straight home after work. I opened the door, greeted my dog, and ate some bread with butter and a little bowl of soup. I sat down and played with Otto for a few minutes until he climbed on my lap and fell asleep. I was next. I fell asleep as well. Another dream began. I found myself sitting on the steps of my back door that led into my backyard. I gazed into the distance and got up. Everything seemed calm until I heard a disturbing, spine-chilling sound in the distance. It came from the other side of the fence. I walked towards the fence and looked over it by pulling myself up a little. Ah! A dark shade was screaming in my face for a second, and then teleported to the other side of my yard, within the fence. I was startled so much that I fell over. When I looked at it, it teleported again. Then I saw the golden pickaxe I had found earlier. It was stuck in the ground. I grabbed it and dashed at the dark shade. The dark shade teleported away and evaded my attack. Then it laughed with a laugh so evil that it made me tremble with fear. I looked at the pickaxe. It flew up in the air and turned into my direction. "What the?" I said, squinting my eyes to grasp the reality of what was happening. The pickaxe came at me. It was flying at me, trying to kill me. "Wah!" I screamed, and I tried to open the door to the house. Why was it locked? I didn't lock the door. Who locked the door? The dark shade? Where was the key? I have to get out of here. Let me in. Let me in. Open up, I yelled. I turned my head and saw the golden pickaxe come at me. This was it. It was going to kill me. Whoa, I said as I sat up. The environment had changed. I was in my room again. I looked at Otto, who was still sleeping on my lap. This, too, had been a dream, a nightmare in which I almost got killed by the very pickaxe I had found. Strange. Chapter 5. Nightmare. Another day, another expectation of dull routine at work. Has anything happened at home lately? Someone asked me at work. Not much. I've just been having strange dreams, I replied. I've had those too. It's the season. I hate autumn. Everybody gets colds, and it's that weird temperature when a transition between sunny and rainy weather takes place. I know what you're talking about, I said. When he was gone, I added, but that's probably not it. There is something else. Something fishy is going on here. I looked at the golden pickaxe I had brought to work and hid it into the rocks. It was almost as if some quaint power was emanating from this average-looking tool. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew something was wrong. Still, I continued to use it. That night, I went home and fell down on the couch, on purpose, of course, because I was just tired. Otto was in the kitchen. He was already sleeping, so I just closed my eyes and decided to space out for a while. But I fell asleep, and another nightmare occurred. I was in another part of our town. It was on the other side, where I usually didn't go, but I recognized it nonetheless. I was wandering through the streets, wondering what I was doing there in the first place. My first impulse was to go back home. I knew I had to get there before dark, because I didn't trust the streets in the evening, no matter how small our town was. Something was behind me. I didn't know what, but I was afraid to look. When I finally had the guts to turn my head, I saw a girl. But not just any girl. It was the girl I had met in the previous dream. You're alive, I said. You didn't get killed by the monster, did you? She moved her head in an unnatural way, something that scared me. Then she put her hands forward and came at me. Huh? What? She was a zombie. I recognized the odd walking pattern, the moaning, and other signs. I knew she was a zombie, and she was chasing after me. Stay away from me, I yelled as I ran into the opposite direction. She was gaining on me, and I was getting lost in the village alleys. And then it happened. I tripped and fell flat on my face. Ouch! I rubbed the dirt off my face and looked up. The zombie girl came closer and closer. She bent over and attacked me. Then I woke up. Phew, I said. This is going too far. Where did all these nightmares come from? I mean, just a few seconds ago, I almost became zombie food. I looked around me as if I was trying to find the answer to my own question, and the answer was right there, the golden pickaxe. It was leaning against the wall in the corner of my living room. What does this pickaxe have to do with the girl I keep seeing? What are the monsters? And why is there always someone dying in these dreams? I was turning into a little dream detective, and to be honest, I kind of liked figuring out what was going on in my head. But again, I couldn't put my finger on it. It was like a big blur, an unsolved mystery. Would I ever find out how all these dreams were related? Perhaps I had to do something myself. Perhaps I needed to take action. Chapter 6. Action. The next day was a Saturday. I didn't have to go to work that day, so instead, I decided to go back to my backyard and dig some more. I didn't know what I was going to find, but I was determined to find some answers. I was sick of the nightmares, but I didn't just want to chuck the golden pickaxe into the trash. I had to get to the bottom of this. Literally. And the bottom of my yard was still far away, So without wasting time, I ate some breakfast and grabbed my shovel. Otto joined me outside, keeping me company in the process. It was hot that day, and the sweat was drenching my shirt, so I took it off. "Howdy, neighbor," the neighbor said as he looked over the fence and saw me dig. "What are you doing?" I looked at him with a sarcastic look on my face. "What does it look like? I am digging," I said. "I can see that, but why?" "To get a hole in my yard," I said. "Duh." "But what for? Are you going to build a pool or did you lose something?" "A pool," I lied. I wasn't going to explain my sudden urge to dig. He wouldn't understand, so he shrugged and left me. I dug and dug. I dug all day. Otto helped out a few times too, although he didn't get as far as I did. The neighbor came back in the evening. "Still digging?" he asked. "Why don't you take a break?" "I already have," I said. "I drank water about 10 times today. Why do you think I haven't passed out yet?" When I said it, I suddenly felt the sore muscles in my shoulders and arms. It was a lot of work, and the weird thing was that I didn't even know if I was going to find something. I just hoped for the best. "Well, don't get sloppy," the neighbor said. "Some of the sand got thrown into my yard. Please watch where you throw that stuff." I looked at him and said, "You know, there are other things I can do with this shovel too, like killing, breaking down someone's fence, smashing someone's windows, hitting the neighbor, and there are many other options." He became scared and decided to leave me alone. Exactly what I was aiming for. Good. A half hour later, I suddenly saw something. It was like hair or something. I kept digging around it and moved some of the sand with my hands. "Otto, come here," I said. "Woof, woof." Then I stepped back. "Whoa," I said. It was hair, but the worst of all was that it was an entire head. It was a dead corpse. "Ew," I said. "Where did this come from?" A little nervous, I kneeled in front of the head and dug out the rest of the body. And to my surprise, it was the girl I had seen in my dreams. One of her fists was clenched, as if she was holding on to something. I pulled the fingers back and was dumbfounded. "The red piece of cloth," I said in amazement. "Who would have thought?" Immediately, I asked my other neighbor, not the annoying one, to go get a police officer. Chapter 7. Dilemma Solved. The next day, the crime was solved. The police officer had shown up at my house and had called over forensics teams and investigators to find out what had happened. I was being interrogated, of course, and I told them exactly what my experience was, how I found the pickaxe, the nightmares, and the digging until I found the dead girl. "Do you realize you solved our puzzle for us with your weird dreams?" Officer Daniel asked. "I don't understand," I said. "I told you everything. Why am I back here? I told you that I didn't know the girl and that I didn't do it." "That girl was attacked," he started. "Apparently a young man was trying to rob her. He had a golden pickaxe with him, something he had stolen that same day. But his greed didn't end, so he made an attempt to grab her bag and run off with it. When she resisted, he became extremely violent. Still, she held onto her bag and wouldn't let it go, so he used the pickaxe to kill her. According to his testimony, he buried the girl and the said object in your backyard. It was the closest thing to the crime scene that wasn't conspicuous, and you weren't home at the time. Nobody saw him, so he thought he had gotten away with it. And even if you or anyone would find the pickaxe, he never thought you would be crazy enough to dig so deeply." "I don't know what came over me," I said. "I just felt that there was more underneath the soil." "And there was. The girl was underneath a lot of sand, and it's a miracle you found her." "How did you catch the perpetrator?" I wanted to know. "Since nobody witnessed the crime, how did you find out who did it?" "Remember the red piece of cloth the girl was holding in her hand?" "Yes. What about it?" "It gave it away. Our research team consists of experts when it comes to tracing fingerprints, objects, hairs, or any other forensic signs of who did it." So did you analyze the cloth and trace it back to the person who did it?
That's what we did, yes. We interrogated a lot of people yesterday, and eventually it led us to him. One of the witnesses that helped us out was a beggar.
Really?
Yes. The criminal's name is Albert, and he had the same red shirt the girl had ripped the piece from. At first he denied it, but when he discovered that we had enough evidence, he confessed to the whole thing.
What was the girl's name?
Victoria. We feel sorry for her family. She had been missing for quite some time. But thanks to you, we were at least able to lock up the murderer. Thanks, Doug.
Wow. You're very welcome, Officer Daniel. I feel for the girl's family, too. Maybe I'll go visit them one of these days.
Good plan. Now please excuse me, as I have more work to do.
Officer Daniel left, and I was left alone with Otto. The reward for the golden pickaxe I had returned to them was lying on the table. Blood money. That was almost what it felt like. I had gained some finances, but I felt upset about this discovery. An innocent girl who had been killed. Who knew where this world was going to? Come on, Otto, I said. Let's give this money to Victoria's family. It's the least we can do. I put the bills into a bag, held the door open for my wiener dog, and closed it behind me. What a world. What a life. The end. This has been The Dead Speak, story about a powerful pickaxe, adventure stories for kids. Written by Jeff Child, narrated by John H. Feskins. Copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. Production copyright 2017 by Jeff Child. Time Travel Adventure, The Campout Secrets, Kids Adventure Stories. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Introduction. Steve has two friends, Ted and Tallahan. They go on an adventure to the woods, where they camp out and have a fun time together. But when they run into an unknown object, their future is about to change. They return to the village they came from and discover the importance of this strange item they just found in the forest. Find out more about Steve's experience in this short story, his diary, and be surprised by the outcome of the secret powers his friends and he have unleashed. Chapter 1. Out in Nature. This is Steve. I am 14 years old. Well, I don't know how else to start a diary or journal. Whatever, this is the first time. I just want to write down what happened recently. It was amazing, but it was also incredible. And by that I mean that it would be hard to believe unless I explain every detail, and even then there may be doubters. What I experienced with my friends goes beyond the normal and the natural. It was supernatural, that was for sure. We actually didn't believe it ourselves at first. So let me just get to it, or I will just keep rambling about how unbelievable and weird it was. It all started when we decided to explore the environment. You see, our village is surrounded by gorgeous mountains, but we just never went there, partially because our parents were so busy and we didn't want to go by ourselves. My friends, Ted and Tallahan, were about the same age at that time, and were happy that their parents finally agreed to let them go off on their own, with me, of course. So we did. We planned a camping trip. First, we packed our bags, the tent, and some cooking equipment. It was exciting. My dad was proud of me, since this would mean I would become more mature, being self-reliant and all. My mom was a little worried, but she gave in and let me go. She knew that it would be safer if there were 3 of us. It was a hot summer day. We met in front of my house and took off after hitting each other on the shoulder, like guys do. "What do you want to do first?" Tallahan asked. "I just want to go towards the mountains," I said. "When we get there, we'll decide what to do first. If we do all kinds of things first, it may be dark already when we arrive at a good spot. So let's find a spot first. After that, we can have as much fun as we want." "Sounds like a plan," Tallahan said. "Maybe we could eat some rabbits," Ted said. We both looked at him. That comment was completely misplaced. Talahan was a pretty smart kid, but Ted? Sometimes we wondered what was up with him. Yes, maybe, I said. We were all silent. For some reason, we just didn't have anything to add, so we all kept packing our stuff. Chapter 2. Tent. We put our backpacks on our backs. We said goodbye to our families and started our journey. As we walked towards the mountains, we passed by beautiful orchards, farmlands, and forests. At the foot of the mountain, we paused.
"That looks like a long way up there,"
Ted said. "Not so," I said. "We're not going all the way up there, just halfway. It will be good enough. That's where we'll pitch our tents." We started climbing up. We were lucky there was a clear path, but it was steep. Every once in a while we rested, being severely fatigued after such a tough climb. But eventually, after a few hours, we came to an area where the road wasn't so steep anymore. We discovered a creek and some lush green bushes and trees. "Let's move up a little more and then pitch our tent near the creek somewhere," I suggested. My friends agreed it was a good idea. After another half hour, we picked a spot and pitched our tent. It was tricky, and we noticed how much clear communication mattered when you're working together as a team. Ted was too clumsy to put the pins in the ground, Talahan was complaining about the wind, and I just couldn't find some of the tiny items that make a tent complete. When we were done, we put our backpacks in there, laid out the sleeping bags, and took a look at the creek.
"I bet you can't beat my record,"
Talahan said. "What's your record?" I asked.
"Skipping a rock 27 times on the water."
"No way."
"It's true. So what do you say, Steve? Are you up for a challenge?"
"Bring it on." With that remark, I picked up some flat rocks and started skipping them on the water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, I said. "That's not bad, is it?"
"But it's not 27,
Talahan said.
"Well, if you skip a rock 3 times 12, it will be 36, Ted added. "So all you have to do is do it 2 more times and then you beat his record."
We both looked at each other and rolled our eyes while smiling. "That's not how it works, Ted. It has to be with the same rock."
"Oh," Ted said. "Then maybe you could get the rock from the bottom of the creek and use it again. You know, like recycling."
We couldn't stop laughing. Ted and his simple logic. Sometimes we actually learned something from his way of thinking. It made more sense than some of the complicated matters adults come up with.
"Sure, Ted,"
Talahan finally said. After some fun skipping rocks, we got our fishing gear out.
"Fishing is one of the most boring things in the universe," Talahan said.
"I couldn't agree with you more," I said. "But I heard there is some good trout in this creek, so let's just give it a try." We split up. I stayed with the fishing rods, and the other 2 went to fetch some wood for a campfire. When they came back, I proudly presented a big trout I caught. They were impressed. I was happy to see they made themselves useful, too. "Let's get this fire going," I said. It was great. We roasted fish and marshmallows and hot dogs. Ted kept burning the marshmallows, even after we tried to show him how far away he should hold them from the fire.
"Have you guys ever wished to perform some heroic deed?"
Talahan asked when we were just chilling at the fire. "What are you aiming at?" I asked.
"Just, do something that you're proud of, something that means something to other people."
"Yes, I have," I said after a little thinking. "I once had a dream that I rescued some girl. She was being attacked by shades and guardians, but I came to snatch her away and put her to safety. And then I fought the enemies one by one. It was a pretty spectacular dream, to be honest."
"Ha! And who was the girl? Olivia? Catherine? Sylvia?"
Talahan asked. "Oh, come on. Do I have to reveal to you who I think is the hottest girl in our class?"
"Yes, of course."
"I kind of like Sylvia," I admitted. "Ooh!" the 2 boys shouted with a grin on their faces, teasing me a little.
"Steve has a crush on Sylvia!"
"Shh, I don't have a crush," I said.
"Sure, it's okay. Nobody can hear us here in the mountains."
"Well, what about you?" I asked. "Who do you like?" Talahan blushed a little, but then he told me. We were just having discussions boys have about girls, about cool stuff, kids we hated, sports, etc. When we were full, especially with the delicious fish I caught, we went into the tent and slept all night. It was peaceful, with the sound of the flowing water in the creek and the rustling leaves on the trees. Chapter 3. Weird Things. The next day, we climbed some trees and prepared another meal. We all went swimming, despite the fact that the water was a little cold. And in the evening, we sat around another campfire. Then I saw something. "Hey, what's that?" I asked. Talahan and Ted came to look. It looked like another pebble, but it was purple. I had never seen a purple pebble before. I picked it up and held it in front of me. "Weird," Ted admitted.
"Perhaps it is a dark pearl," Talahan said. "I have heard of those. They're always purple and shiny. They can be found in the mountains, and they make you do strange things."
"Yeah, looks like it," I said. "It's almost like it is magical or something. Here, let me rub off the dirt." I started getting it smooth by rubbing it with my t-shirt. Something happened. I don't know what. But before we knew it, we were at the campfire again. Everything looked the same.
"Have you guys ever wished to perform some heroic deed?" Talahan asked when we were just chilling at the fire.
"Wait, what?" I asked.
"Just, do something that you're proud of. Something that means something to other people."
"Hold on. What did you say?"
"Didn't you hear me? It's just that I thought of how cool it would be to prevent some disaster, or to do something that would serve humanity."
"No, that's what I mean," I said. "I heard you, but it just doesn't make any sense. You already said what you said." He raised one eyebrow.
"You're the one who's not making any sense," he said.
I was confused. Didn't he already ask the exact same thing yesterday? Why would he ask that question again? And why did it look like Ted was burning the same marshmallow in the same way as the day before? "You asked me the same question yesterday," I insisted. "Have you forgotten that?"
"Okay, you're starting to freak me out, Steve," Talahan said. "I didn't even see you yesterday, so how could I have asked that question a day earlier?"
"What? But we were here at the campfire. You were asking me this, and then I told you that I liked Sylvia, and we talked about other things."
"You like Sylvia?" Ted asked.
"Ha ha ha." Talahan smirked.
"Well, thanks for telling us that, but we really weren't here yesterday. I think you're going a little nuts."
Then I looked at the dark pearl. Did I just go back in time? Maybe the magical power of this strange pearl was to go back in time. But how would I know for sure? I thought and thought while Ted and Talahan were chatting away. Then I had it. "What's today's date?" I asked.
"Huh? It's the 23rd, of course," Talahan said.
There was my proof. I had gone back a day. When I rubbed the pearl, it shoved me back in time for a whole day. Our conversation changed. We didn't talk so much about girls or sports anymore. I showed them the dark pearl I had found, the day after, actually, and we tried to find out what it could do. "Guys," I said in all seriousness, "this is a magical object." They both looked.
"Oh, I've heard of those. They're dark pearls," Talahan said.
"Yes, and it sent me back in time."
"It did what?" Talahan asked.
"It sent me back in—" "Stop! That hot dog is going to fall into the fire!" I warned Ted. But it was too late. The hot dog fell.
"Hey, how did you know it would fall?" Ted asked.
"That's what I've been trying to tell you. I went back in time."
"Oh yeah, then what am I going to do now?" Talahan asked.
"Well, I don't know everything that's going to happen," I explained, "but I rubbed the pearl and went back a day."
"That's so cool," Ted admitted. Hold on. Let's say you were right. What are we going to do with it?" Talahan asked.
"Let me figure that out later. I am open to suggestions, but let me just say that we have a very powerful pearl here, something we can use to change lives, including our own."
"Time travel," Talahan said while rubbing his chin.
We talked some more, including about some of the possibilities this newfound power could give us. However, we didn't come up with a lot of ideas that were both ethical and useful. We were going to keep it and think of it later. Chapter 4. The Danger. The next day, the two boys went swimming and climbed some trees. I didn't really feel like joining them because I felt I had already done those activities the day before, so I just sat there and contemplated the influence this dark pearl would have on our lives. "We need to use this for something good," I said, while my friends were splashing water at each other. "But what?" Tallahan asked. "I don't know. Prevent crime, help those in need, something like that." "Nothing ever happens in this village anyway." "I know, so maybe we should just hide it away until something does." "Sounds good to me," Tallahan said as he shrugged his shoulders. "Just don't tell anyone, okay?" I said. "Okay." "Ted?" "Tell what?" he asked. Never mind. I thought that if he didn't know, then he probably wouldn't tell anyone. I asked them to do something else, since watching them play in the water had become a little boring. We went to look for berries, so we just left the tent there with our gear, considering it safe enough for the moment. We took off and started searching. Tallahan said he had heard of blueberries being up here, but I was eager to find some raspberries. Those were my favorite. Ted wasn't clear about what he wanted. He put a pine cone in his mouth and even tried to eat a leaf. We both kind of laughed about his silly experiments. He said he wanted to prove that you could eat leaves, which he did, but it didn't look like he was enjoying it, and that's why we cracked up. When we went up the mountain a bit more, Tallahan suddenly stopped me and said, "Don't move a muscle." He was staring in the distance. I tried to see what he was looking at. Then I saw it. It was a bear. It was huge. I was as silent as I could be. The bear was brown and looking mean, but it didn't notice us. What was it doing? "It's eating our berries," Ted said, as if he heard my thoughts somehow. "Quiet, you idiot," Tallahan sneered. But it was too late. The bear had picked up the sound of Ted's voice and was quickly moving towards us, growling loudly and showing its teeth. "Run!" I said. We all tried to run downhill, which I have to mention is really hard to do without tripping. I mean, I don't consider myself a very clumsy character, but this time I just got my foot stuck behind a tree branch and fell forward. I saw the giant bear coming at me. It was getting closer. It swung at me with its sharp claws and... When we went up the mountain a bit more, Tallahan suddenly stopped me and said, "Don't move a muscle." Huh? Is this where we were? In desperation, I had just rubbed the dark pearl a little, trying to place us back in time so we could avoid being chased by a dangerous bear. The bear was staring at us. It was looking for berries, but I already knew that Ted was going to be stupid enough to open his mouth. So I jumped towards him and covered his mouth with my hand. I held it there and made sure he couldn't say anything. When I let go, he quietly said, "How did you know I was going to say something?" "I've been telling you guys that I went back in time yesterday, so that's what I just did." "Wait, you went back in time tomorrow to tell me to be quiet now, which is exactly yesterday for you?" he asked. Ted was making things needlessly complicated. "No," I whispered. "I just went back to the time we were watching the bear because I was almost becoming its lunch. Now let's get out of here before the same thing happens all over again." "That's weird, man," Ted said after thinking for a while. My friends and I left and went back to the tent, which was a lot farther away. Just to be safe, we left the mountains that day, because we didn't want the bear to find us. Chapter 5. Back at the Village. We came home and our parents greeted us. They asked about our adventures in the mountains, and we just told them about swimming, campfires, and berries, but not about the bear, since that would cause them to be worried. Nor did we tell them about the dark pearl with its magical powers. That would just confuse them. Besides, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it yet. It sounded so powerful, but so bad if it would fall into the wrong hands. I would soon find a way to use it, though. The next day we met in school. As we were sitting there, the teacher asked everyone what they did last weekend. "I went on a pony ride," one girl said. It sounded a little childish, but then she explained that she trained horses, and that she learned a lot about guiding them by rewarding them with carrots and such. "We worked on the farm," another kid said. He told us how they milked the cows, stacked the hay, and gathered the water from trenches and wells in the ground. "We went camping," I said when it was my turn. I told the class about our hike up the mountain, our campfire, and climbing trees. Talahan told a similar story, just adding little bits and pieces to what I was already saying from his perspective. Then it was Ted's turn.
"We found a magical stone that turns back time," he said bluntly.
I buried my face in my hands.
"Oh, that sounds interesting," the teacher said. "Please tell us more about that." "Well," he started, "we were attacked by a bear, and then Steve told me to shut up because I was making too much noise, but the bear didn't see me, so it was okay, and the stone looked purple. It was more like a pearl, a purple pearl. And at the campfire, Steve predicted the future because I dropped my hot dog, and he just knew it was going to happen, so that's when we decided to not tell anyone about it, but I just did."
He realized what he just said. I expected the worst.
"Whoops," he said softly.
The entire class looked at me. How was I going to talk myself out of this one? Why couldn't he just keep his mouth shut about the dark pearl? I knew we couldn't trust him. He couldn't help it.
"Well," the teacher said.
At first I looked worried, then sheepish, and then confident. I was going to pretend to lie by telling part of the truth. My sarcasm had no boundaries. Everybody knew that. So I would use it to my advantage. "Oh, he is totally right," I said with a funny tone in my voice. "We found this magical rock that helps us turn back time. We can even travel to the future and turn your nose into a pig's nose." Everybody laughed. Everybody except for Ted.
"It can do that too?"
he asked with big eyes. "Yes, I just didn't want to tell you because I wanted to pull a prank on you. I was going to sneak up on you in your sleep and give you a pig's nose just for fun. But now that you discovered my secret, me and my big mouth, sorry I spoiled it. Maybe I could still do it to someone who doesn't know about that special feature." Ted looked happy. He was probably relieved that I wasn't going to give him a pig's nose anymore. And the rest of the class didn't take me seriously at all. They thought it was all just a big joke. "That sounds very funny, Steve. I am sure you can make up a lot of stuff about all kinds of magical objects, but we are trying to have a serious conversation about what we did in the weekends here." "Sorry, teacher," I said. "It's okay. Let's hear it from someone else." After class, I didn't even get angry at Ted. Like I said, I didn't think he could help himself. He was just a little different. Talahan came to me and told me what a genius I was for talking my way out of that one. "Thanks," I said. "Have you thought of what we could do with this yet?" "We could win the lottery," he said. "I guess so, but I don't know if that's what this was intended for. Let's think about it a little more. It's not like we desperately need money. Besides, that would be kind of dishonest, wouldn't it?" "Only if you get caught," Talahan said. I laughed. That Talahan and his way of justifying everything. I knew he meant well, but sometimes he crossed the moral line a little in my eyes. Chapter 6. Secret Enemies. I came home and listened to my mom and dad having a discussion. They were pretty worried, to say the least.
"Shades are about to attack the village," my dad said. "They have been spotted outside the village terrain, and some of them were particularly hostile. They attacked a couple of villagers, and now the whole town is anxious and upset."
"How many do you think there are?" Mom asked.
"I don't know. Some have mentioned a few, others dozens, and one of the villagers even said he saw hundreds of them hiding in the forest."
"What are they after?"
You know. They are uncivilized, vicious beasts. They don't have to have a reason. They simply want to destroy our town, I am sure." My mom looked scared, and my dad noticed he went a little overboard. "But," he said quickly, trying to soothe my mom's mind, "I think that if we just leave them alone, they won't come any closer. Maybe they just want to perform a few simple acts of violence and then head back to where they came from. Who knows? Besides, we live in the town center. They will probably attack the homes at the town borders first." "I sure hope so," my mom said. I couldn't sleep that night. I just knew I had bumped into this mysterious dark pearl for a reason, and now the village seemed to be in peril. I didn't know how at the time, but perhaps I could make myself useful in some way. If I could utilize the pearl's magical powers, I would be able to save lives. Chapter 7. Raids.
They came one by one. It was hard to stop because it was so sporadic. The shades that attacked the village were vicious and ruthless. A little battle here, a little killing there. It was unstoppable. One of the shades that attacked the village was a small, sneaky one. The Burgess family had been living on the town's borders for a long time, but now they were seriously thinking about moving. When the sneaky shade snuck into their home, it destroyed all the fruits in the basement and all the vegetables in the shed. After that, it came after them.
"Dad, Dad!"
the little girl screamed.
"Where are you?"
"Come on, honey," the mother told her while holding on to their newborn baby. She came running out of the house, trying to protect her offspring but fearing for the life of her husband. They left, looking back and seeing something happen on the window through the window. But they didn't have time to stay. The father would meet them at his brother's place, but he never made it. The next day there was a funeral, but during the ceremony, an entire horde of shades made this moaning sound and attacked the attendants. Many were harmed, few were killed. That same evening, a giant shade, at least 15 feet tall, entered the village and began bashing walls and hitting monuments. When the townspeople fought back with pitchforks and pickaxes, they were simply smashed to the ground. People were kicked hundreds of feet away by this gigantic monster. Others were simply stepped on or pinned to the wall of one of their homes. It was mayhem. It was awful. Reports from deaths by shades or losses through those assaulting enemies were all over the place. People were distressed. The village held a council meeting which my dad attended. He brought me along just to observe what was going on, and maybe because they were so desperate they could have used advice from anyone willing to add an insight of some sort, even teenagers. "Our village is dying," the mayor said. "We have come together because we cannot hold back the shades any longer. Their random riots and assassinations have become too much. This should have never happened. If we don't do something, we will all be exterminated." "Let's burn the forest," someone suggested. "Then they will only be forced to come out and kill more of us," another disagreed. "Maybe we should attack them," my dad suggested. "They would never see it coming." "Sounds like an idea," the mayor said. "But even if we could kill some of them, we wouldn't have the manpower or the fighting skills to get rid of them completely. We have heard reports of hundreds of these terrible creatures lurking beneath the shadows. How are we ever going to match that?" "We should find out what they want," I said. Everyone turned to me. "Who is this?" the mayor asked. This is my son," my dad said proudly. Then the mayor turned to me and asked, "And how are we going to do that, young man? They don't speak our language. They don't even talk. They simply come in and start pillaging our village. How do you suggest we find out about their motives?" I was silent. "I don't know," I admitted. "But if we could somehow discover that, they might leave us alone after that." "We will keep it in mind," the mayor said. "Any other ideas?" Chapter 8. Even Weirder. When we came home from the meeting that night, I was sad. I mourned because of the families who had lost loved ones. People who had been brutally murdered by those disgusting monsters. It just wasn't fair. We didn't even know why they were attacking us. Usually, shades would leave us alone if we didn't look them in the eyes. We always had to make sure we didn't bother them, and they wouldn't respond. But this time it was different. They were angry. They were after something. I sat there in the middle of the night, thinking about the causes of all these unusual events. Then I thought of the only thing I could do, the only thing that made actual sense. I was going to go back in time and find out about the root causes of all this. If I could only get close to the shades and search for a motive, I might be able to prevent all these tragedies. I decided. I was determined to solve this. This was the reason I found the dark pearl. I took it out of my pocket and rubbed it. I rubbed it hard just to make sure it would work. Before I knew it, I was back in the living room. It wasn't night anymore, but during the afternoon. My parents had a discussion. They were pretty worried, to say the least. "Shades are about to attack the village," my dad said. "They have been spotted outside the village terrain, and some of them were particularly hostile. They attacked a couple of villagers, and now the whole town is anxious and upset." How many do you think there are? Mom asked.
I don't know. Some have mentioned a few, others dozens, and one of the villagers even said he saw hundreds of them hiding in the forest.
I recognized this conversation, and it was before it actually all happened. Nobody had died yet, and I was going to make sure it would never happen. I told my parents I had to go outside and ran out. Then I went to Talahan's house. Psst, Talahan, I said while looking up. He opened his bedroom window. What's going on? He asked. Want to follow me into the forest? I have the feeling we can really use this weird pearl we found. Sure, give me a second and I will be right there, he said. A little later, he stood next to me in front of his house. So what have you learned? He asked. These shades are going to kill villagers, I said. It already happened. Well, in the future. Well, in the future, I guess, but I went back in time, to the present time, to stop it. That is so awesome, Talahan said. So you are from the future? Yes, well, I know what's going to occur, and now I want to make an attempt to prevent a disaster from happening. Does that make sense? Of course. Shall we get Ted too? Let's leave Ted where he is, I said with a smile. Let's just go together, just the two of us. I am sure we'll get to the bottom of this. We ventured to the forest with the dark pearl. To be honest, it was kind of spooky, with the fog and the eerie sounds we heard. We couldn't see much, so we stayed close to each other. The fog was so thick that we could only see about 15 feet in front of us, if that. As we slowly approached the open space in the middle of the forest, which was a place where I thought we had the biggest chance of encountering shades, we heard the sound of feet. Like I said, we couldn't see much, but we were certain that we were being followed. We turned around but saw nothing. When we turned around again, "Ah!" Talahan and I screamed. A creepy shade was right in front of us, staring in our eyes from only 2 feet away. Where did that one come from all of a sudden? But he wasn't the only one catching us by surprise. Before we could say another word, we were surrounded by shades. They were all coming closer and staring at us. Why weren't they trying to kill us? I didn't understand any of this. Quickly, Talahan whispered. Get the dark pearl. Maybe we could go back to the time before they snuck up on us. I took it out of my pocket, but that brought about a reaction I didn't expect. As soon as these mean-looking shades saw the dark pearl, they all kneeled down. What was happening? Were they worshipping this item or something? One of the shades wasn't kneeling. It looked like their leader. He came forward and made a gesture as if to say, "Hand it over." Then it clicked in my mind. Perhaps they lost this precious pearl and were about to start their killing spree out of anger. Perhaps they were just looking for it in their desperate attempts to search the place. Perhaps giving it back to them would stop this nonsense before it even happened. What are you doing? Talahan asked. Don't give that to them. It's our only way out. But he missed the point. He didn't get it, so I ignored his advice and handed the dark pearl to the shade. He gladly accepted my gift. When he held it, he looked at it with joy. The other shades were still kneeling. Then he held it up and expressed some weird sounds I had never heard before. It was probably in their language, or so I figured. When he was done talking, the shades stood up and followed him. They were headed into the direction of the mountains, away from the village. We both stared at the departing black creatures, trying to make sense of what had just happened. This is awesome, I finally said. They are gone, gone! They won't ever come back. All they were doing was searching for their pearl. It's so simple if you think about it. So that was it then? Talahan asked. They just wanted their pearl back. Yes, and remember you said you wanted to perform a heroic deed? Now you did. We just prevented the deaths of numerous villagers. We just prevented a war. Aren't you proud of yourself? A little, Talahan said. I just pictured it to be different. You know, with sword fighting and swinging and picking up a beautiful girl to save her from the scourging flames of a fire, or to be carried on the villagers' shoulders and have an after-party. Oh, come on. You have to admit this was cool. It doesn't matter that nobody saw it. We know what we did, and that counts for something. Talahan was still a little upset when we walked home. He didn't get the same heroic feeling as I did. We talked some more, going over the events that had been taking place since we found that mysterious pearl. Then suddenly, Out of the blue, he said, almost crying, "But we could have won the lottery!" The end. This has been Time Travel Adventure, The Campout Secrets, Kids Adventure Stories. Written by Jeff Child. Narrated by John H. Feskins. Production copyright 2017 by Jeff Child.